Hi guys, here is my non-spoiler review um, of The Fault in Our Stars. This was requested by Joe Ross, my cinema partner in crime, and I've also been requested other movies to review, such as Catastrophe and Airplane, and a TV show called Catastrophe, which I will be reviewing at least 2 episodes of Catastrophe tomorrow, so make sure to stay up for that. But I digress. So, The Fault in Our Stars. The basic plotline of the film is that and also just to say, this video will also be a non-spoiler and a spoiler review, mostly because this film has been out for a while, but also because there isn't that much to spoil. So I will declare and give a few seconds in this video at the very end for spoilers after I've given my general verdict, and I will declare that. So this is going to be one continuous video. So the general plotline for the movie is basically this woman played this woman called I can't remember the name of the characters. That right there is as good as the movie. Anyway, I'll get to that. I digress, but I'm just saying the characters aren't all that memorable. But the main character is suffering from cancer where her lungs fill up with liquid, so she'll end up not being able to breathe and end up suffocating and dying. She she talks about this a lot in the first person, the actress, third person, sorry, and eventually you'll see her later on go to this support group, and that where she meets our second lead. The second lead was the main lead from Baby Driver, which is the reason why I'm reviewing this film, because I said if people want me to review the film, I will, and it's about them that the main character's in love with this book, um, that is actually based on the very book of Fault in Our Stars, and they go and she's always wanted to meet this author, and he uses and her love interest basically um, uses this sort of make a wish kind of foundation thing to sort this trip out to Amsterdam, where the American author lives now, to meet the writer. But in between that, they bond, they have meals together, they share over stories of cancer, and they really get to know each other, and it's really good. So that part's extremely enjoyable. But then they go to Amsterdam, they finally meet this author. The author turns out to be a horrible man essentially who essentially isn't what they were expecting. He's a drunk, he's an alcoholic, he doesn't want to answer their questions, he's saying things like, oh, you're a lot more stupid than you were in the emails, has the cancer gone all the way to your brain? And they thought, oh, this author's really nice, he's paid for our meals, but in fact it was his secretary, and really he doesn't want to know anything sort of to do with them. And basically the only reason the girl goes there is because she wants to find out how the book ends, because it sort of ends on a cliffhanger, and the author's like, there is no ending, and he won't tell her, and then she gets outraged, and um, but we learn why the author is such a drunk and an alcoholic and literally lives in an old room, and that's because he lost his daughter to cancer as he before uh, after he'd finished writing the book, because he's writing the book as he'd been diagnosed with it, and so he then gets the book, sends it, but then he realizes he can't wallow. he wallows in despair, and his receptionist realizes that he can't wallow, and basically sorts all this out to try and make him realize the positive impact his book has on people, like his daughter was, to then get him back into reality and stop him being an alcoholic and things like that. So essentially, it's all about them dealing with that and that kind of scenario, but also the boy she fell in love with, the cancer gets more severe, his entire body ends up being made of cancer, and he dies, and and it's all about her. We don't actually see her die, but it's all about her accepting his death, um, and there was one particular point in the movie which I'll go into in my spoilers section where I think it really summed up the movie perfectly. In fact, that was in the middle of the movie. But my general thoughts on the movie were it was a really solid movie. It it um, it 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 I think it very well kind of pictured the struggles of dealing with cancer and did it in a respectful and graceful manner, and also did it without sort of offending people, and it did it in a really solid way, and it showed, even though the actress, even though I can't remember her name, she was from the Divergent Insurgent series, and her face really pictures what it's like to go through cancer or lose someone through cancer, and the acting in it is top notch. If I had to give it two downsides to it though, I'd have to say that it was a very it was oh, and one other upside, the way they send texts in the movie, like the way the two main characters send text to each other, it's done in a hand drawn book style, and it's just, if you've seen the movie you'll know what I'm referring to. But it makes the way Captain Underpants draws things, even though that was really good, it makes that look really bad, and it's a really good visual effect of the way they send text to each other. Um, so yeah, my two downsides to it are that it's a bit too long. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes because I rented it on Google Play last night at the request of Joseph Ross, and I watched it. Well, before I watched it, I looked and it said duration 2 hours and 5 minutes, or 125 minutes, and I thought that's a long movie. I thought it'd be quite. But the thing is, I thought it'd be an hour and a half, hour 45 movie, but it turned out to be a lot longer. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it's still very heartfelt and I did really enjoy it, but I felt the running time could have been cut by a mere 10 or 20 minutes. And my only other downside was that while the actors were good and the actors and actresses were good at conveying that level of emotion, they weren't memorable in the sense like you couldn't go to something like Baby Driver and say, oh yeah, that's Baby, he was called Doc. He was, and she was called Deborah, but she had a name tag that said Jonathan. I can remember all those names, but when you watch something like Fault in Our Stars, you can't remember them, sort of. So that's the only downside. And I'll just give a couple of seconds here for like a spoiler sort of warning. But all I'm going to basically say is that there's not really much more I can say, other than in the middle of the movie they go to Anne Frank's house and there's a speech from the actual Anne Frank Museum thing in Amsterdam, and the way they play it and they keep it echoing and repeating, I think really well symbolises the difficulties that are happening between our main character. But other than that, I think this movie is really solid, and I'd have to give it an 8 out of 10, simply because of it did really well at capturing the messages of cancer, but it felt there was again those two problems that prevented it from being a perfect movie. But I do apologise for the noise of the TV in the background. We've got people watching Emmerdale in the background. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye.